Om Namah Shivaya. Verse 47. Apart from the self, I have no body. I am indeed the self. I have no blemish. My mind is only concentrated in the self. I am indeed the self. It is not different. You are not a body. You do not possess a body. All bodies are only the self and nothing else. There is no body apart from the self. Yet the self is most certainly not a body, but is unformed existence. All bodies everywhere are only of the self. And I am indeed the self. It is a statement of identity. The bodiless self, the self apart from which there is no body, is just itself. I am indeed the self. Know this for certain. Have the deepest conviction in this, that what you are truly and only is the self. And I have no blemish. The self is perfection. It is never more or less. It is not stained in any way. There is nothing wrong with the self. There is nothing wrong with you. Knowing this, how could you suffer? That which has no blemish is bliss itself. Know yourself as the blemishless self. From which you can never fall away. Be certain of this. My mind is only concentrated in the self. Perhaps this should have read, my mind is concentrated only in the self. The two words are mixed up. If the mind is concentrated only in the self and not upon any object, what is that mind? What becomes of it? If your mind does not focus on any thought, but only upon or in the self, how could you be bound? How could you wander? How could you imagine an illusion? If the mind is concentrated only in the self, that which is concentrating, and the concentration itself, and that upon which there is the concentration, are all the same. That ever same reality is the self, and I am indeed the self. In just this way you should realize what you are. The verse finishes with, "It is not different." The self is not different from you. You are not different from the self. There are not two selves, that there could be difference. There is only one self. And it is ever existent, not different ever. There is only one self, and nothing else actually exists. The self is the unfragmented, undivided existence. Inquire. And know this. Verse 48. I am indeed the self. I am the void. I am verily the self. There is nothing mine ever. I am indeed the self. There are no qualities for me. I am the self. There is nothing different anywhere. I am indeed the self. The instruction is a continuous, unbroken revelation of what you are, what the self is. If only you realize at heart that I am indeed the self, with certainty implied by indeed. Everything is fine. You need only realize I am the self, and samsara is no more. I am the void. What does the void, shunya, signify? Something non-objective, having not the least bit of anything else in it. Something utterly indefinable. Something without individuality or objective conception. Something that cannot be perceived by any of the senses. Something space-like in its non-differentiation. Know it by being it. Hence, I am the void. I am verily the self. There is nothing mine ever. The entire notion of possessiveness should be lost. Nothing is mine. Not a body, not characteristics, not experiences, not memory, not objects. Nothing is yours. Existence is what you are, not something possessed. If it were possessed, it may be lost later. But that which is never possessed, which itself possesses nothing, is never lost. There is nothing mine ever. To realize this with certainty is renunciation in truth. I am indeed the self. There are no qualities for me. For the self, there is no tamas, rajas, sattva, none of the gunas or qualities. Nor is there any other kind of quality or characteristic. Qualities pertain to things, gross or subtle. Are you a thing? What quality can be said to be you or yours? If you inquire to know who you are, you find you are qualityless. It is unspeakable, but realizable. I am the self. There is nothing different anywhere. The self is infinite. There is nothing outside it. That which is in it is only of the same nature as it itself. So there is nothing different anywhere. All the supposed differences are merely imagined in the self. None of them exist apart from the self. Everywhere where you think there may be something, there is nothing but that, the self. Everywhere where you may think there is nothing, is also only the self. You are only the self. Everything is only the self. Nothing is apart from you. Verse 49. You are completely non-existent. All, like these, are totally non-existent. This is totally non-existent. Even an atom is non-existent, completely so. You, as an individual being, are completely non-existent. There is thus no one to be ignorant or to be bound. You are completely non-existent. Completely, even a drop, a particle of what is false does not exist. All, like these, are totally non-existent. All, and as an example, like these, that which is in the immediate proximity of the body, is all totally non-existent. There is nothing created, nothing dreamed up. These are totally non-existent. This, the object at hand, is non-existent. How much non-existent? Totally non-existent. Even all the attempts made in various minds to understand this non-existent are non-existent. The one who does not comprehend the truth of no creation was never created. Even an atom, a particle, whatever be the smallest bit imagined, even as potential, it could be, is totally non-existent. How much non-existent? Again, he says, completely so.
Om Namo Bhagavate Shirpanaya. Namaste Nomi Guru. Sometimes in scriptures or writings, when they say something is non-existent, there is usually a suffix like it means it is not existent apart from the self. Like whatever we see is not existent in the sense that it is nothing but the self. And sometimes they say it is not existent because it is not there in all three states of time, all three phases of time. When this verse says it's completely non-existent, is it in the sense that it is not apart from the self or completely never?
Well, if it's not apart from the self, there's nothing to it.
Correct. So it is okay.
The explanations are to meet the needs of aspirants. And so they are spoken of in different ways. The meaning, completely non-existent, and are nothing apart from the self. The meaning is actually the same. For if the self alone is, there really is no question of it or this or that. And then if we say it is only the self, there's no emphasis on the it, just the self. If we say the snake was only a rope, it does not mean that there was a partial snakehood at some time. It means there is nothing there. It doesn't exist. Only the rope is. Only the self is. If individuality is abandoned absolutely, there can be no question of anything else existing at any time. Which is the guarantee of one's liberation.
Thank you, Namaguru.
This the quality of the mind being sattvic or in a sattvic state seems so important, but the the self consciousness kind of was implied in the very first one. When you were talking about concentrating on itself. I mean, it's always the knower, right? So I guess that discrimination to because the mind itself is formless. It really isn't formed. It's kind of assumed as something, as a me. But that kind of concentrated part actually must come from the self.
The power of concentration all belongs to the self. But in practice, we speak of a concentrated mind and its opposite.
Like the good.
But there's really, in truth, only one knower. And all of his knowledge is contained in himself.
So the discrimination part is to notice that it's all in itself. It doesn't go out of itself. So, I mean, because I'm just looking at from, how do I destroy this ignorance? You're reading this, it's so vast, so deep. In a certain sense, it's just...
By listening concentratedly, reflecting on the same, and continuously deeply meditating upon it, so that your very sense of identity is absorbed. That's what you should do with this book.
Okay. Thank you.
Verse 50. I am indeed the Self, the Supreme Brahman. The triad of worlds is all illusory. I am indeed the Supreme Brahman. I indeed am the Supreme Guru. I, the Self, and the Supreme Brahman are three words for the same thing. What is that same thing? It is to be known as the Self. It should be the only meaning attributed to I. And it is the Supreme Brahman, the solitary reality that is forever undivided. A triad of worlds, gross, subtle, cause, puzzle, or the three states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. All of such is illusory. The meaning of illusory, being of the illusion, is the same as what we were just speaking of as non-existent. Illusory doesn't mean partially appearing or partially existing. It is all illusory, completely so. All is illusory, and illusion itself is unreal. I am indeed the Supreme Brahman. If you have conviction in this, then you'll dive inward, inquiring, who am I? With a strong conviction regarding your identity as the Supreme Brahman. One who has realized Brahman is Brahman, and nothing less, nothing individualized. So he says, I indeed am the Supreme Guru. One who knows and is what he knows is the Guru. We speak of him as such in terms of spiritual instruction, grace, etc. The truth of him is the Supreme Brahman, the one beyond all attributes, whose very being is the revelation of that perpetually. Know him to be the dweller in your heart. Verse 51. The concept of the individual soul is ever unreal. The concept of the existence of Shiva is also likewise. The concept of Vishnu is also misapprehension. All is like the horns of a hare. Usually, spiritual practice is begun, including the supposition that one exists as an individual soul. That individuality or individual soul is a combination of the ego notion, I, and the spirit, defined by the body or or subtle version of the same, subject to the experiences of life and death, heaven and hell, etc. The very concept of existing as an individual soul should be questioned. The concept of the individual soul is ever unreal. If you are not the individual soul, what are you? The view or understanding of God corresponds to the view of oneself. Oneself being regarded as an individual soul, God is similarly conceived, perhaps on a far vaster scale. The Lord. The concept of the existence of Shiva, that is God, is also likewise. Without the concept regarding Shiva, what is Shiva? The concept of Vishnu is also misapprehension. Vishnu is all-pervading. Shiva is the auspicious, the good. Conceived of as apart from the self, they are unreal. But if you know yourself, you know them. And they know you. The individual, God, the universe, etc. What is all this? All is like the horns of a hare. Absolutely non-existent. There's not a trace of a horn in a rabbit. Not a bit of it. Not a short time. Nothing like that. The reality is Brahman and Brahman alone. That is the self, and that is all that there is. So the realization of the self is the knowledge of reality, which alone is real. Verse 52. I indeed am the ever full. I indeed am intersticeless, ever satisfied and formless. I am indeed Brahman. There is no doubt of this. You are not the individual. You are that which is perfectly full, never more or less at any time, but the ever full. Of what are you full? You are full of existence. You are full of knowledge or consciousness. You are full of bliss, the perfection. Know yourself and revel in that. I indeed am intersticeless, without gap, without interval. There is never a break in your existence. Know it as so, and be beyond birth and death. Ever satisfied and formless. That which is perfectly full is what is satisfied, and satisfied in the self, by the self. Nothing else can make you so, but self-knowledge reveals it as the truth. It is formless. You have no form. You have no name. You have no possession. You have no idea. You are formless, which is the beginningless and the endless, with nothing outside you because you are formless, and nothing inside you because you are formless, and nothing other than you, for such would be non-existent. I am indeed Brahman. There is no doubt of this. Again and again, meditate upon your true nature, inquiring, who am I? So that your identity is established in that as that, naturally so. There should be no doubt about this. With doubtless certainty, be convinced of yourself. Om Namah Shivaya. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.